It's Monday, December 12th, meeting of the Montpelier Planning Commission. We first have to approve the agenda. So if the Planning Commission could take a look at the agenda, and I'm open to a motion to approve.
I'll just add that the SE group's conversation will be more than just the energy draft. It'll be more broadly what they're working on.
Oh, right. Okay. Yep. So do we have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Okay. Motion from Brian. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second from Gabe. All right. I think Gabe's coming in really remotely. I think he's in the car. Motion from Brian and a second from Gabe to approve the agenda. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Motion approved. Brings us to comments from the chair. Things that come to mind for me is I'm going to assume we're not going to meet next time. That's going to be right around the holidays. Just thinking that's not going to work for people. So unless anybody has any objection, we'll just plan to meet the second Monday of January for our next meeting. And as far as the upcoming calendar goes, we're trying to finish up these last chapters of the plan, as we all know. But I have every intention of starting in January, starting to get moving on some of the zoning update stuff and the response to the Congress for New Urbanism report, and the solar shading and just zoning related work as well. And I'm going to start putting work in myself to prepare some things for us and get the ball rolling for that. So you can look for that on the agendas coming January. We'll start balancing out some of these other things. That's all I have. Does anyone else have any updates?
Yeah. Sorry, I missed the beginning of the meeting, so I don't know if did we welcome Maria, or is that on the council agenda for this week? I just wanted to acknowledge that we have a potential new member or a new member here. I'm not sure where we're at.
Yeah, Maria is on the council agenda for Wednesday, so we will have all of our seats filled pending Maria's appointment on Wednesday. And I don't know if Maria wants to introduce herself quickly.
Sure. Hi. Thank you, everyone. I'm Maria Arsenlitz. I'm a parent in town and a small business owner too. And I'm really excited about joining the commission.
That's wonderful. And this is news to me. I missed our last meeting, so I'm a little behind. So that's wonderful, Maria. Thank you so much for offering to apply and joining us.
Yeah.
And also, oh, go ahead.
No. Finish what you were going to say.
Oh, well, I was kind of moving on, so go for it.
Oh, okay. Well, I was just wondering, when I started, I didn't get any sort of orientation, and I know before Marcella left, she was talking about that, and I don't know if she was, if she made any progress on thinking about that, but I was thinking at least one thing that I think it would be nice for new members to have, and we probably didn't do this for Brian either, but it's just if they can get a printout of the updated zoning regulations, because I found that really helpful when we get, we're working on the city plan right now, but when we get back into the zoning.
Yeah, I think that's an option. I mean that stuff's accessible digitally too, so that Maria, you can access the zoning regulations on the city website. If you want to, if you're like the kind of person that gets accustomed to things that way. I don't think that we have any assumption that you need to do a bunch of homework, but I think one of the best things, and we have been doing this, but it's been since I was been the chair, which Marcella didn't get that, and I don't think I was the chair when you came on, Ariane, but I have been meeting with people and just for an hour and doing a walk and catching people up as a form of orientation. And I did that with Brian before he was actually appointed. So, and I did that with Gabe and Jeff and other new folks. So yeah, Maria, we can talk offline about, like, usually it's a walk, but I don't know, it's like 20 degrees right now. So so maybe a coffee in an indoor place or something, or just whatever, or a phone call.
That's great.
But yeah, we can connect and talk in that way. And when we do that, I can tell you all sorts of other resources besides just the zoning regulations.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to, like, you needed to read the zoning regulations. That was just one thing that I found helpful, because I personally found it hard to put it all together looking at it online. So anyway, but that's great, Kirby. I didn't know you were doing that. So that's really fabulous.
Yeah, I mean, I've been extending the offer. It's up to people if they want to do it, but that's the best way I can think of to do an orientation, other than if we wanted to go through the process of developing like an onboarding materials or something, but we haven't done that. But I can point you to resources and answer questions. But yeah, we should be in touch, Maria. And welcome. And also welcome Brian officially. So next on the agenda is general business. And this is where, if there's any members from the public who are here to discuss anything that's not on the agenda for tonight, it's your opportunity to do that. So do we have anyone? And it looks like we do have one. Do we have any others besides Peter? Okay, Peter.
Hi, I'm Peter Kalman. I live in Mountain View, and I drop in on this group once in a while to offer them a piece of my mind. I just want to start out just by saying a few things. I read a lot what's going on around the rest of the country, in Vermont and so forth, and I send those around to people. I generally send them to Kirby and Mike and to Josh Jerome. So I just want to say that, and I get various responses. I just want to say that, yes, affordable housing is a national problem, but it is also a local problem. Yes, affordable housing is made very challenging by construction costs, but there are other significant costs that municipalities like Montpelier can help to reduce or offset. Yes, developers can make more money by building in Chittenden County, but we can also create conditions here with carrots and whether it's dollar carrots or help carrots to encourage a developer sector down here as well, and maybe even draw people from Chittenden. Yes, NIMBYism is a factor in limiting affordable housing in Montpelier, but it's just a subset of an attitude that permeates American society. And it's one because we've lost sight of the fact that our houses are where we live. Instead, our houses have become the largest part of our assets. And that causes us to want to protect those at all costs, for ourselves, for our families, for our heirs. But I think what we really need to make clear, and we're going to need to make this clear every time NIMBYism rears its ugly head, is that whatever excuses are made, too many trees are going to be cut down. What about natural resources and so forth? What we need to remind people of is that this is exactly the kind of behavior that has created segregation, racial segregation again, ethnic groups again and again over the last 100 years. And it's why we have this cute little town. And we've got to understand that the price of having a cute little town is the suffering of others. And I really think that we've got to do something to change the attitudes. they're all going to show up at the meetings, and they're going to object to the density changes and so forth. We've got to start calling a spade a spade. This is immoral. This is unethical. And this goes against all the things that those very same people actually think they believe. And I just want to add to it that and here I'm talking to Mike, we need the department to begin to take an aggressive, proactive approach, not just to get better regulations, but to streamline and to help people and big developers and individual property owners to be able to actually do ADUs that aren't going to cost them $100,000, to figure out how to divide up their large homes into smaller units. And if they're older like me, create an apartment on the ground floor that is where is age appropriate, and have the upper floors be where other people live. There's so many infill building. There's so many things, but people, particularly seniors, and we have a lot of senior homeowners, don't know how to do this on their own. They're going to need help. And all the government programs in the world and all the regulations that are changed aren't going to make a bit of difference if we don't have some very, very strong hand-holding. I've been saying this for 5 years, and I'm going to keep saying it. You can't just be passively saying, as was said to me by Audra when I came with my first idea up on College Street. She said, "Oh, well, have your place surveyed, get an architect to draw up plans, come in and we'll help you." Oh yeah, right. Spend $10,000 and then you'll help us. How about helping us at the front end? Thank you.
Well, thanks, Peter. And I think you will be seeing some proposals from us in the near future go to City Council that are, I think, going to be in agreement with some of the things that you want. And I would encourage you to come and show support when that happens, and rally people as well. Because we'll need your support, because we want to do like a lot of what you're talking about. Okay. With that, anybody else from the public? Okay. So then I will turn it over to SE Group to show us the progress they've made on the website design.
Hi, everyone. I'm Aiden Eichhoff from SE Group. With cameras turned off, I can't say I see familiar faces, but some familiar names for sure. I'm here today with Julia. Julia's been doing the bulk of a lot of the drafting and content creation. And we're sharing responsibilities in a lot of ways. Our last meeting, we kind of gave an update on our progress with the drafting the chapters from the Planning Commission content to then taking them into story maps. We edited some of the content and flow of that, and that is still underway. I think Mike's going to send over some more comments so that we can really make sure that we're nailing the flow of this. But the last time we said that we would come with a draft version of like the landing page for this. So we have some content to share with you today. For that, it's getting there, but it'll be good for us to have feedback and for this group to have an initial reaction. Julia, is there anything else you want to add in?
No, that's all. We did have a meeting with Mike last Friday to talk about the status of the other plan chapters and make sure that our process is tracking along with you all. So, if there are any scheduling things that the group would like to talk about at this meeting, that would be great too.
I think I have the ability to share my screen. Yep. Okay. Okay, are you seeing a screen with trees? Yes, okay.
You see the trees.
This would be the landing page of the hub site. So the hub site is where we see people who, maybe there's a link from the official city page that says, see the city plan here. This is where it would take them. So there's a little update on what the plan is, what the website is for, what the website is for, and then kind of pointing people towards plan resources. So as you scroll, people would get options. These will eventually be clickable. They are not as of now, but little icons that will take them to each chapter. Then we have an idea, as you can see, that's not fully built out yet, but for each chapter to maybe have a statistic that really tells some sort of story about progress or a little snapshot as to where they are. It's a goal of Julie and I to kind of have one for each chapter, and Mike's going to help maybe point to a specific stat. But for this group, as you're writing chapters, if you highlight some important statistics, we can absolutely highlight them here. But anyway, for each of these, for each chapter, there's going to be some sort of statistic like this. And then having I think it's just a placeholder photo, right, Julia?
Yeah, if you have a photo of all of you that you'd like to include here, that would be great. But this group is hard at work for sure.
And have some just kind of point towards where people can find more implementation information. Up here, these links hopefully it'll take you to the plan chapter. I've been having some issues, but it looks like it's going. So this page is where if you want to just go to the plan chapters and not scroll to get the icons, you can just jump right here. So as you can see, there is the main photo that's in each of the story map pages right now. So this economic development one will take you to the economic development chapter eventually. You're kind of seeing the back of house version. You won't see this thing pop up when this is public.
Is that solar array in Montpelier in that photo?
It might not be.
Yeah, so I will update that cover photo. Before we had received the energy plan data requests last week, I was using photos that I was able to find online that are without any permissions, just to make sure that they're usable for these purposes. But yeah, I'm going to replace all the photos in the energy chapter with the ones that we received from the from that data request. So.
Oh, okay. So yeah, you're on top of it though. We definitely don't want the finished product, obviously, where we're using other towns.
Yes, definitely. This is the Montpelier city plan, and there are lots of solar photos that we now have. So
great.
Yeah, including some ribbon cutting type photos as well. So there's a lot of great stuff to choose from.
And as far as the people photos, I would just say before we get lost and forget about and move on, Mike, maybe that would be an opportunity for people in your office to get some appreciation, because we don't have any group photos of the planning commission, but we I don't know. I like the idea of if Mike has any nice photos of people are working in his office. Especially since the caption there was planned implementation, they're the ones really implementing. I don't know if Mike's still there, but oh yeah, he's there. So anyways, proceed. Sorry for the interruption.
All good. And if there was a community event, I know we had some outreach events where we were taking photos, but something like that where there is community engagement happening. I don't know how you would fully capture plan implementation in a photo, but I like the idea of having some staff people show up here. So there's only 3 that are in story maps right now, but eventually this will have all 12 sections. Plan implementation, there is nothing here right now. John Adams, we still need to connect, and maybe we can just put an embed frame on this page and use whatever tool that you have created, or if we need to try to create something here using Hub site, which is a little clunky at times. We can explore what the best method is there. Do you have any initial? I see you're here now.
Yeah, that sounds good. I think planning just to embed an iframe is probably the safest bet.
Perfect. And then finally, for the additional resources tab, none of these are linked yet, but we see kind of one of these for each chapter, so that as we link plans in the actual story map text, they can just go right to this page, and people can kind of see a little library of resources. So if there is the Vermont energy dashboard or something like that, that can be linked here. So these are the 4 general sections that we have worked out right now. Willing and welcoming any feedback. Let me get back to the main page here. Hopefully it goes there. Yes, okay. What are people thinking about the amount of information and the flow of content that there is currently?
For the landing page?
Yeah, knowing that that's probably the most built out at this point.
So yeah, so for the planning commission, so this is the landing page what we're looking at now. I think it looks lovely. I think it's not too busy or anything. What do other people think? Does anybody have feedback for the landing page?
I like the icons or the info, like kind of the graphics, quick clicks below. Make it easy.
Yeah, that is nice.
Is there a section on here? I didn't see if like how to read this plan. I'm sorry, maybe that you guys scrolled by that.
It's more
Section.
right now.
Oh,
Oh yeah,
go
sorry.
ahead.
Oh, I'm
I
just
guess
saying
it's
more right now just for the website. There isn't. I think we're still trying to figure out how and where we would link to like a full text version of this plan, where I can see a how to read this plan blurb being really important.
If you scroll down, Aiden, there's a section there next to implementation. Yes. I believe, okay, maybe we did eliminate this. Sorry about that. But there will be some sort of information on this page about different audiences intended to use this site. So if the commission is interested, we can certainly provide like a paragraph or some sort of explanatory text to say, if you're a member of the public, these are some ways that you could use this site and the pages that you might want to visit, or if you're a member of the development community, for example. So those are definitely possibilities.
Sounds good.
Yeah, there's a little that sentence here, Julia, was just kind of absorbed into this section, but I think
Gotcha.
that it sounds like kind of building out a couple different pathways or things to focus on for different audiences would be helpful.
And is this where you would explain why we're doing the plan? I guess it's, as one of the new guys, I'm just trying to get. I was met with Kirby and others to figure out the context for all of this, and certainly they pointed me to a statute, so I assume that's going to be part of this too. This is why we're doing it. This is how you do it. These are the sections we're working on. It sounds like that's yet to be built out, but it's coming.
Well, that's an interesting question, Brian, because I think there is kind of a threshold question of, this is the website that takes you through the plan. There's going to be a version of the plan that's more of your classic book, and that would probably have to have the statutory reference, but I'm not sure that the website has to have it. So, and Mike, correct me if
No,
if I'm wrong about that.
This hub is going to be the city plan. There's not going to be a separate printed document. We're going to be doing it all in this. This is going to be the plan.
Okay. Okay. So yeah, I thought we had talked about there being a second, more official version, but no, this is going to be what we point to as the official plan. Does the statute specify that we have to have a reference?
Nope. It doesn't say it has to be a printed plan. It's just the plan has to include these 10, 12 elements and these certain requirements. It doesn't actually give a required format. So that's why we've taken the liberty to say, then we think this is the best approach going forward. 21st century plan.
I mean, I like that. I'm glad that there's not, unnecessary other things we have to do. So returning to Brian's question, I mean, how do people feel about making reference to the statutes on the website?
I think it can be buried in the about stuff, or I don't know. I like how I'm a proponent of less is more. My only thought or sense with this, which I think provides a really good framework, but instead of that intro paragraph, I would love for us to let's put our big idea out there. Here is, we need a 15-second version of the plan, a 2-minute version, and then the 20-minute to infinity version where those very few people are going to dive in. But if there's one or two themes that tie everything together, can we just hit people with it right away? Montpelier is, and this is our vision. This is the community we're working to build toward, and get away from a little bit more the institutional, this is our plan adopted according to Title 24, 43, whatever. And it doesn't. I don't think it would take very much to get there, and without actually coming up with that overarching theme. I don't think we can ask SE Group to say hey, can you come up with the overarching theme of our plan? Unless you're inspired and you're you know what, I've gone through these and I've got it. I'm gonna synthesize all of their thoughts.
So what do people think about us at our next meeting in January, spending some planning commission time drafting the intro language for here, for the landing page? Does that sound like worthwhile thing to do?
That is absolutely something that Julia pointed out as well, to really to start with that vision. And I think this is a great spot for it.
Okay. Just quickly, I don't know, maybe I'd be willing to throw up a draft for people to noodle while we're talking about that. What are the big ideas we do want to cover? I mean, what are those big story type notes that we should hit on? Do you have specific things in mind, John?
I mean, housing in and around our walkable downtown. Housing has just been the reoccurring theme in every chapter, right?
Yeah.
And not only, I think, framing it also as as a welcoming new inclusivity, like welcoming new households, by focusing on like housing. Like we have to stop using the word like density and just, you know, dehumanizing the concept. We're not trying to shove as many buildings as possible in Montpelier. We're trying to create like homes for as many new households and new residents to come in here and live and have an opportunity to experience like the amazing city that we all do.
So I'm thinking about how to frame that. One thing that comes to mind is talking about how we feel a sense of responsibility to provide housing and inclusivity for the region, considering, you know, we're the capital city and you know, but is responsibility the right word for the tone we want, or is it more, do we want to use a word with less baggage? It's like friendlier, like we have a desire to provide those things. I mean,
let's just say we're going to do it. Like, let's just do it. That's our plan. We will, you know, become a community that has housing to accommodate, you know, a greater number of people.
One question is like, you know, in a statement like that, we have a responsibility to provide housing, or we are committed to providing housing, something like that. Is who is we? And I think my suggestion is that this statement should not be coming from the Planning Commission, or like be written in a way where it's coming, it could be read that way. But rather just like very general statements about the major directions and vision of the plan.
So, I mean, when we're using a subject for our sentences instead of we, like the city.
City, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. We kind of, in things we write, we kind of use both of those, but that sounds good. So the city will blah 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 provide housing, walkable communities, inclusivity. Anything else we want to capture here as the highlights, high points of our plan?
Something maybe about energy or climate change, or I mean, all that stuff is related, but I think highlighting that as well.
Yeah, so like climate change, energy, that's going to be more related to like the world environment. I mean, is that where we want to focus?
Well, I guess, yeah, maybe, I don't know. I'm just brainstorming here because I don't know how detailed we want to get, but just, I think reminding people that I mean, it's all connected, of course, but I don't know. I'll think about that more.
Okay. Yeah, it's just whenever I start thinking about like the work we do, I mean, when it comes to the environment, we're thinking local and global environment and different aspects of the plan. So I just wanted to know if we wanted to specify one over the other or something like that. But I can draft up something. I can.
Yeah,
in previous sort of visioning exercises, we've done this for a variety of towns. What I am remembering the steps are is that there's a couple just words that are thrown out, like character, vibrancy, walkability, and then it's kind of crafted into like a vision statement. Julia, is that kind of how you've done it in the past?
Yeah, vision statements can be useful as just one very long sentence that's supposed to capture the sentiment of the whole plan. And, you know, they sometimes communities will use them in a lot of different contexts. Like that vision statement will also function as like a vision statement for the whole community and not just the plan. But it's a useful tool to just summarize some of the main themes of the plan. But I think a vision statement is not necessary. It's not the only way to capture this kind of information. I think a couple, there are a couple ways that I could see this working in terms of showing this at the start of the landing page. One example is a couple like value statements, the city of Montpelier values the creation of housing for to allow new residents to enjoy the community or something like that. And just having those couple statements, given that this is a web page, we can try to make that more dynamic than just like a block of text. We can add in media or graphics to spice it up a bit. But yeah, value statements could work. I also think, you could go abstract with this if you want to. You could have a bunch of words that are emblematic of the goals of the plan. So, like a word cloud type thing. It could be like housing, sustainability, walkability, historic character or something. These are also things that you could, provide. It's just a snapshot of the themes that the plan is concerned with. And then underneath that, there could be like a short paragraph explaining, the context for those words. So those are just a couple ideas. None of them, I think a variety of things could work here.
Yeah, thanks. What I'm gathering from our previous discussions and I don't know where I'm seeing things is like John's saying, like a statement of this is what we're going to do. This is what this plan is going to do is kind of what we're going for the intro. But I'll draft something up. We'll kick it around. We'll forward that to you once we have something. And you can also feel free to then also give us feedback about, what could be done with it.
Yeah, and I don't think there are any right or wrong ways of doing it. I mean, we could put this together in the format of almost questions if you framed it in such a way of saying, to answer the question of, what is a city plan? This is where we identify our values and identify our goals as a community and identify pathways to accomplishing them. This could be, how do we create more affordable housing? How do we, so you could just lay it out and it kind of communicates to the public. That's what this plan is looking at, is to answer these types of questions. So I think there are lots of ways you can think about this same idea. And there isn't a right or wrong way. And I think we can just think about it and we can talk about it in that first meeting. I'm trying to think I should check to see whatever that January date is. And we'll sit down and talk about it.
It's going to be January 9th.
Yep. January 9th.
Yeah. So I'll try to throw something together tonight and kick it around, and then it's just something to work off of for us to modify and get there for that. Besides the landing page kind of intro, is there anything else content wise that the Planning Commission or SC Group feels like the Planning Commission should consider and try to contribute?
Seemed like folks had some thoughts on the different audiences that this webpage is speaking to. So maybe it'd be helpful to hear a little bit more about what that information and that section should look like on the webpage. Who are the audiences that we want to make sure have a guide to looking at this resource?
Yeah, what I remember before about our discussion with that is just the general public was one where that's kind of what it's mostly oriented toward. And then people who are really like looking to delve into like law and policy and just making sure that they have a way to get to the in-depth information that they would want. I feel like our conversations were mostly about that. Just thinking in terms of just making sure that the in-depth stuff's easy to reach, and that, knowing that it's mostly designed for the general public to get the gist of things. And I don't, did we talk about like having an actual just like explanation for like, did we talk about writing something about how the plan's oriented towards different groups? Because I don't remember us like saying that we needed that. Yeah.
I don't think we spoke about that.
Yeah. So I don't think we necessarily need that unless other folks feel like it would contribute. I think it's more of just like what to keep in mind in the design process, if that makes sense.
That's helpful. I think with these hub sites, and particularly with story maps, we've sometimes created a little section at the start, or a tab that says something along the lines of how to use this site and explains the different types of content that's available. And the hub site is maybe a little bit more straightforward for folks to navigate, because it looks like a traditional website, relative to like, an interactive map and a story map. Someone might need a bit more guidance to know how to use that and look at that. But is that sort of page that explains the content of interest to this group? Or because I do think we can put that together, and that might be helpful to just indicate, here's all of the information that's provided on this site, because otherwise people may not know that they can access the full plan chapters, but also the links to the implementation strategies and other things like that. It may be useful to just list the content on a page like that.
What are people's thoughts about that approach?
Seems like that would be helpful for some people.
Yeah, I think we have to assume that most people don't look at this kind of document every day and don't have any context for it. Because you talk about the general public, so John's comment about less is more, but definitely a roadmap of I can tell you as the new guy, the difference between aspirations and goals was something I looked back at the methodology document about what's the difference between those two. Just you guys are way into this. We don't want to get ahead of anybody that's never looked at it before.
That's a thought that occurred to me on the section on the landing page at the bottom, where it looks like there was kind of some work in progress explanation. I was thinking that too, Brian, where maybe the most useful thing, right here for this implementation information, where it says example aspirations. That made me think that it was going to explain, what does aspiration mean? What does goal mean? What does strategy mean? If the individual chapter pages are using that jargon, then maybe that would be a place to explain that. I'm not so sure, though, that we're building it in a way in which somebody needs to know. Weren't we kind of like slyly using the aspirations as like headers or something, and then having the goals as kind of statements on there?
Yes.
In other words,
that is right.
Like, we're using that jargon, but I don't think you actually need to know those things if the way that the plan's being pulled together at the moment.
Yeah.
It says goals and aspirations there, so I guess that is, people may want to know what that means there. But yeah, here in the content, I don't know, Brian, what are your thoughts there? Like like this stuff on the left side of the page is the aspirations and goals, but it's kind of self-explanatory in context.
Well, I mean, I looked at this too. I mean, nitpicky, but aspirations should come before goals, because the way you guys described it and the way I read it, aspirations are the big, what we're aspiring to do, and then the goals are the more specific ways, or more specific kind of mission within that. Even if it was aspirations were orange and goals were gray, like you have here, there's something to make sure people understand what I mean. Look, people aren't stupid. It's just a matter of you want them to know what you're trying to articulate here.
Well, that's a good point. So for Aiden and Julia to take note of is aspirations come before goals.
Yep, we can certainly make that change.
But I don't want to lose all the other stuff where I'm saying too, though.
Yep.
Given that it's probably going to look like this, Brian, do you think we need to explain some, like on the landing page, what we mean by aspirations and goals?
Well, you guys have a template for each section that's the same. I mean, pretty much, as far as I can tell. I mean, I know there was talk of maybe tweaking it here and there, but
yep.
Making it as easy as possible for people to understand what it is, I think, without too many words, is going to help them. Like I said, some people, we have to assume the lowest level of knowledge about things like this, I think, when we put it together. And in terms of saying, it doesn't have to be very involved. We can just say each section articulates, a particular area of the plan. We'll talk about the background. We'll give you some context, and then we'll talk about what we aspire to do and how we get there, and how we implement it. Stuff like that. I mean, I think that's a quick. Again, less is more, as John pointed out. But I think letting people know what they're about to read is always, a preview. People love previews.
I wonder if it would be helpful, because just thinking about how people might use this site, say somebody is extremely interested in historic resources, but not really interested in the other topics, and they just click on historic resources, and they wonder what these goals and aspirations, or aspirations and goals, are about. It might make sense to head up each of these goals and aspirations sections with just a short link to another to a page on the hub site that explains the architecture of the plan. So for instance, like right under right at the top there, it could say what are goals and aspirations, what are aspirations and goals. Visit this link to learn more about the structure of the Montpelier City Plan. And then that could be a very short summary of what that is. Because, I think it's what's important for people to understand about these aspirations and goals is that they are actionable. Aspirations, just in our general understanding of that word, sounds like something that is desirable but may not actually happen. But as this group knows, the purpose of writing these things down is to make sure that there can be progress on these things. So I think it might be helpful to define that.
The other thought, John mentioned this, but my thought is, you've got the background synergies and goals and aspirations. There also might be a tab up top that's just, I don't know, maybe about this plan that takes you to a different page that answers some of the questions that you were just talking about. Rather than have it all in the landing page of the hub, maybe the landing page just says, if you're interested in knowing more about XYZ, or each chapter will tell you about these things kind of the same way Brian was talking about it. It can be just a real short thing on the landing page that says, if you're looking for this type of information, look at the chapter links. If you're looking for detailed policy questions, perhaps staff, members of committees, these types of things, you might go to the implementation page to find out specifics of how we do this. We don't need a lot, but we can put them in side-by-side boxes that says, the links below are going to, take you to the chapters. The chapters will talk about these. Or you could go to the implementation page. They'll talk about these. If you're in the implementation page, then you'd have that extra tab on top that you could click about this plan. And if they click on it, we could have more detailed information that really gets into what's an aspiration, what's a goal, what's a strategy, what was our process, what was our purpose, kind of getting a little bit more wordy and wonky into it. And that's just a thought.
Yeah. Thanks, Mike.
So wanting that information in one page that we can link to from everywhere versus having like a small blurb of text that shows up in each of the plan chapters.
I was just throwing that out as an option to put it in as one, but we certainly, if we can digest it down to a small enough piece that we're not losing, a lot of page space.
Yeah.
If it can get digested down into a pretty tight box that's not using up a lot of our space, then put it on each page. But I just think over time, we're going to probably find a number of things that we keep saying, oh, that would be helpful to have.
Yeah.
Because a lot of our plan is about being strategic. Maybe we need to talk about what's strategic and why being strategic is important. Or, the window of this plan is 8 years. I don't think we want to be really talking about that on the landing page. We don't want to be boring people with those things. But if we've got a page that kind of hits a little bit of the wonkiness, then people who want that information can get it.
We could potentially, and we have 4 tabs up here. We could do like, this is actually just called introduction or something like that, where it has little bits of information about each. So you have the little blurb, you have the icons, which will be the same as the plan chapters, the stats, and then just a teaser for the implementation if people want to get there. And then there could be like an actual true about the plan tab where we go through the structure, the legality, the timeline, and some of like the glossary terms. And then we can just link to the about the plan. But I think explaining at some point, even if it goes to implementation, explaining between aspirations and goals, I think will be important. And I think if this group can nail the definition of how they see it, then we're happy to communicate that. But it's hard for me to actually verbalize the difference between aspirations and goals now.
I can help you with how we do it.
Okay, perfect.
How we framed it.
Yeah.
Because it was very specifically written.
Okay.
So what I'm thinking of doing is coming up with some draft intro language for us all to pour over, and then also drafting some I'm going to call it bottom of the landing page language, but it's describing the basics of the terminology that goes into the plan. Both of them try to be as succinct as possible, but the idea with the top part being like capture the reader's attention story, like what John was talking about a while ago, and then the bottom stuff is just like succinct explanation of what we were just now talking about. So I'm thinking if we start there and we're comfortable with that, then we'll be in a position to see whether we feel like we need that additional page of explanation or not.
Okay.
So So yeah, I'll send that around before our next meeting.
Perfect. Yeah, I mean, I try to, when I am looking over websites, I do try to like be careful about the amount of text that's used, just thinking about my own personal willingness to read block text on a website. So whenever there's ability to like make it bullet points, or like we can make it into a little image like we did something like this. So this is probably like, this text doesn't need to stay, but probably not much longer than something like this would be appropriate for both of those sections.
Right. Yeah, that's what we'll do.
Perfect. So actually I'll pause really quickly. Does anybody have any other initial reactions from the quick first scroll through the hub site?
I think we can talk about it a little bit more. My thought was the box at the bottom of this landing page that Kirby was going to rewrite, I thought might be more appropriate in the actual implementation page rather than on this front page. But that's something we can talk about in January. That was just my observation. And I also might move those statistics. My thought was I would have moved the statistics above the page, the block of the 12 tabs.
Yep, absolutely. And we'll have to be careful about, there's going to be 12 of these as well. So how to organize those. I might take them just, I don't know, maybe like create different sizes or make it a little bit more visually interesting. So it's not just a bunch of icons. But I think that makes
possible.
sense.
Is it possible that the statistic icons actually just live in the corresponding city plan page? Just thinking longer term to keep it uncluttered here. Maybe those would be a good feature in the actual chapter pages, because they seem a little bit out of context here anyway.
Yeah, and I think our vision for them was kind of like a community snapshot that had, again, that little teaser of, if you saw that 60% of the renewable energy or something was created for the town, would you then be more interested in like reading how they're going to get to 100 or something like that? But agreed, like we want to make sure that this tells the story we want to tell. So whether or not that's just, okay, this is the plan chapter, this is the city plan, here's the chapters, go read them, and have a little bit more of the snapshot in the actual chapters themselves, that's absolutely a strategy that we could take.
Yeah, I'm open to either one. Just threw that out there while we were talking about the options. Because I love the graphics and the way that they're used to capture people's attention. I mean, that's absolutely great value you guys are adding there. Does anyone have? Oh, go ahead.
I'm just saying it opens the opportunity a little bit to, like, the energy one is full of statistics. So if we do move that section to the energy chapter, it opens the door to have maybe 3 or 4 highlight statistics or graphs or charts there, versus just one from each.
Yeah, I mean, I like how things like this could put the chapters into to help people understand a perspective on the chapters. I'm sitting here, I'm like way meta thinking it, I think, but if we're trying to tell the story of the whole city on icons like this, then it's like Mark Twain, lies, damn lies, and statistics kind of thing, where, for instance, if we're saying that if we're trying to describe our city and say 66% of residences are historic structures, does that seem to imply that it's a really big deal to us to get people into historic structures, or like, you know what I mean? That's actually probably a controversial topic, really, if you dig into how people feel. There are some people who think that, yeah, the whole city should be shut down and historic and made into basically a historic park. And then other people who were like, let's not fixate on that and let's find people places to live. So for instance, like I'd hate to inadvertently tell a different story because somebody else has a different perspective of our. But again, I know that that's reading into it a lot.
No, I mean, when I first saw that, I was like, that's just a bunch of energy inefficient homes. Like, that's absolutely my perspective on that statistic, which I know is covered in the plan. And there are, ways that you can and modernize and, be more energy efficient. But I completely agree. There's multiple ways to interpret these.
And I think that goes to the question you were talking about, Kirby, and Aiden, you mentioned it earlier about the story to tell. I mean, what are we trying to communicate on the landing page? And I think we just have to, once we know what that is, we want to capture them. We want to grab people. If they click on it and they get here, we kind of want to grab them and make sure that they want to move forward. And so, what's the city plan? Why is it important? And just try to get those few pieces to capture them. And if we can use statistics to go through and, as I said, and I was just throwing stuff out when I said have them in the forms of questions, how do we get more affordable housing? And then there's an icon, only 32% of housing in Montpelier is affordable. Now we've made, now we've put the statistic and we've started to communicate people. Why is the city plan important? Because we want affordable housing and only 32% of our housing is affordable. We want a clean planet and, only 53% of our energy is renewable. And these are the things that our city plan is going to try to address. Now we've communicated what we're going to be talking about in the plan, why it's important, and hopefully we've captured people. And whether that's in questions with these things or whether it's with pictures or whether that I think is what we want with the landing page. People hit it. What is the city plan? I don't even know what this city plan is. You click, you see the city plan, and we can very quickly grab you and let you know what this plan is about. And we're not getting into defining aspirations and goals. We'll do that in a bit. But we capture people and we have them start to be able to know why they want to explore a few things on this page. And then we can go through and say, and we talk about it in 12 different chapter areas. And here are the 12 chapter icons. Each chapter will tell you these pieces of information. And if you're more interested in the details, go see the implementation page where we talk about very specifically how we're going to do it. And that's just one way of, here's the story we want to tell and we're going to do it. And I think you as the planning commission, me as staff, we've got to decide what the story is. And then that will help dictate which pieces we grab and how we use them. Because we don't have to do an icon for every single chapter. I think we just need to do enough to tell people this is what we're doing and this is what's important. Then when we get to the page, we'll have more of these icons that says why historic resources are important. 66% of people live in historic buildings. That's why historic resources are important.
And when you're saying icon in this case, you're talking about the statistics-based ones.
The statistic icon in this case. Yeah.
Yeah. And I do want to make sure I understand the icons we have for the chapter pages. That's all of them, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I think that is all of them.
Okay. And this thing I'm going to try to write up. I'll mention that there's 12 chapters because we haven't known how many chapters we were going to have all along. So I guess 12 is the number. I'm learning that. Okay.
Actually, it might be 11 because I don't know if we're actually going to do governance. That was an idea that we haven't actually written a governance chapter, so it might be 11. We could replace that with the icon for the implementation plan, though, if we were trying to keep it
there is
symmetrical.
Some humor to not having a governance plan, but it will, having 12 is aesthetically ideal, but I don't want to create more work.
Symmetrical.
And we eventually do plan to have a governance. And as I said, we can always put an icon in for the implementation plan as well.
Right.
Which takes you to the implementation, same thing as the implementation page, but
Yeah, no, that could be good. I like where the conversation's going and really nailing down the story, and we can create whatever graphic support to tell that story. So yeah, don't feel like any of this is set in stone. Icons and charts are super easy to make. So yeah, please feel like there's still creative freedom in telling that story. I think we just mostly wanted to get confirmation on the general buckets of content that we wanted to have on this website. And I feel like we have good direction on that.
Yeah, one additional thing that I'm hearing is, really wanting to draw people in and keep them, they might click on it, but to really encourage them to peruse the site, and having engaging text and telling a story is a great way to do that. But you can also do that through, just activity on the page. So things like video footage or like GIFs, things like that, that are dynamic, are really appealing to people. So if that's of interest, we can look into incorporating that type of media, which could be helpful in just making this a more visually interesting page.
I think we definitely are counting on SE Group using photos and other appealing, aesthetically appealing things to help us. We definitely don't think that our whatever prose we come up with is going to alone capture people. So I think we're definitely counting on that. As far as GIFs or videos, I mean, I would be inclined to defer to you to know what would practically work, because I'm having a hard time imagining that. Like, it seems like a video that's playing with audio is going to take all the attention, all the eyes away, and then I don't know if people would find a GIF annoying or not. These are just things. I mean, I don't know. This is why I'm deferring to you, because I do not really know. Do any other folks have thoughts about options for things, or any other thoughts? Does SE have anything else they were planning to show us?
Nope, not at this point. Our next steps are to, kind of continue to noodle on the hub site. I think we'll pause a little bit on that until this group has had more time to provide edits or feedback and copy and all that. We have highlighted on our little next steps list to do our draft of the utilities and facilities chapter, natural resources, and arts and culture. It's my understanding that utilities and facilities will get confirmed this evening. Okay. So yeah, a follow-up on, green light, red light on utilities and facilities would be fantastic. And then I think our housing chapter is the next one that is queued up for conversion into story maps.
That's great. And you've probably collected that housing's a pretty big deal for us right now, because it's a hot topic, but it's also, it's a hot topic for a reason. It's really needed. So that would be a good one to have as a very high quality page for.
Absolutely.
Do we have anything else for SE? Anybody have any other ideas? Everyone understand the plan at the moment? Okay. All right. Well, we can move on. Thank you so much, Julie and Aiden, for the time and all the work.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
We appreciate it very much. Okay, let's
Bye.
move on. So yeah, we have to do the final review and approval of utility and facilities implementation strategy and the chapter. So turn it over to Mike to tell us where we are with that.
But still, I mean, it was really, I think the only thing that was outstanding, because we had already gone through in the first meeting in November and kind of reviewed and approved everything. And then we were going to approve it in the second meeting, but then a question came up on the Act 174. And so the follow-up on that is that, and I was pretty sure I knew what it was at the time, but I just wanted to double check. Most of what Act 174 was getting at was for allowing local municipalities or regional commissions to be able to comment and have more control at the PUC for siting. So our energy committee actually decided they, as much as they wanted to participate because we were the capital city, at the same time, they actually were just as comfortable to not participate at all, because opening the window up for the municipality, because right now we can't, I mean, we have very little participation at the PUC. But if we do this and comply with Act 174, then we get more comment, which actually in a strange way gives more opportunities for appeals and more opportunities for neighbors and people to oppose projects if we start getting ourselves involved and participating in the process. And so the Energy Committee was actually happy not participating in Act 174 and the advantages it gives it. Most of the reason that was passed was because there were communities in Addison and Rutland and in other counties, for communities that did not want or wanted to limit the amount of solar projects that were going into their towns. So a lot of 174 is actually a good tool for opposing projects, as opposed to encouraging the rollout of those projects. So that's why the Energy Committee actually wasn't that keen on participating in kind of going through that process. So I certainly can go through and we can do more work on that. And it was mentioned more with regards, in this case, to the utilities. Should we have, because it was the utilities, should we have more of a conversation about Act 174? It also could apply to the energy chapter. It might actually apply more to the energy chapter. And this is a planning decision up to you guys. As I said, the Energy Committee's recommendation would be not to do that extra effort.
Kirby, last week it was Aaron's question, and all he was asking was just to make sure that we had taken a look at it and there wasn't something that we were missing, because he remembered the conversation from the past, and based on the Energy Commission's discussion, I think we'd be okay to move forward. But I don't know if there's other thoughts on that, but that's what I remember from our last meeting.
It sounded like an Aaron question. I wasn't here, but that's where I went with that. Just because he used to, work in that area, or still does, I think. So how do people feel? Do we need Mike to walk through anything more? Are people feeling comfortable to vote, or do we need to discuss the strategies any further? I figure we're going to start with the goals, aspirations, and strategies, and then move to the chapter.
I think we've looked at it a couple times. I mean, if there's people are ready to vote, I mean, I would move that we go ahead and move it forward. We can see what the SE group is doing. They're taking our sort of general trajectory and then turning it into, something that fits the, what that's going to look like. So it's not going to be word for word anyway. So I feel like it I don't know if you saw this also, but Aaron had condensed some of the goals that were sort of overlapping, right? Like I think originally there were 8 or 9, and now there's a handful. So anyway, I would move that we move forward with it, send it to Mike and SE Group.
Okay, yeah. So just to catch me up, since I had to miss last time. So yeah, Aaron was planning to do that, and so I take it he has done that. I haven't actually read it yet, and everyone was happy with the rewritten goals, and that's what we plan to approve that. Great. Okay. Well, Gabe has moved, and what I was understanding from what he was saying is you were also talking about the chapter language too. You feel like that's been finalized as well. So your motion includes approval of the goals and aspirations and strategies as well as the chapter language?
Yes.
Okay. So do we have a second to Gabe's motion?
Second.
Okay, we have a second from John. Do we have any discussion before we vote? Does anyone need anything more about this? Okay, so go to vote. Those in favor of approving the goals, aspirations, and strategies and the chapter language for the utilities and facilities chapter, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
I
Any opposed? Any abstain? Okay, so that's 5-0. That's great. That's great. And thank you again. Thanks. I don't know why I said again for the first time. Gabe, thank you for covering last week. Seems like things went smoothly. And since we have some time left, we have some minutes to approve. So if everyone can take a look at the minutes from November 28th that Mike sent, and I'll let us know if there's any edits that are needed, and when people are ready, I'll take a motion to approve those.
Yeah, I move approval of the minutes from November 28th.
Okay, we have a motion from Ariane. Does anybody need more time? Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, second from John? Second from John. Okay, those in favor of approving the minutes, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, minutes are approved. So okay, that was a good meeting. I think we got into the
Did we want to check on the Bethel? I don't know if he or she had any questions or comments. I had thought that was somebody who was part of the SE group, but apparently not. So
sure, yeah, I was just gonna let it go because no one spoke up during the open business section, but yeah, before we adjourn,
you're always welcome to reach out.
Before we adjourn, if there's anyone from the public still here who is wanting to reach us at all, now is a good time. We can revisit that. Okay. With that, again, we'll meet on January 9th, second Monday of January. We'll continue to do plan work, and we're also going to start getting into zoning work again. I just want to make sure that we don't put that on the back burner for too long, and we really do need to get rolling again on that. Also, in the meantime, people watch your emails, and I'll send some language around for website copy. Okay, and with that, do we have a motion to adjourn?
Stuck here forever again.
I move to adjourn.
All right, thank you, Gabe. Do we have a second to adjourn?
A second.
Okay. And those in favor of adjourning, say happy holidays.
Happy holidays.
Happy holidays.
Happy holidays. Okay. See everyone in the new year.
Have a good holiday, everyone.